Hello and welcome to Timeless with Julie Hartman Live. It is Wednesday, August 14th, 2024. I'm Julie Hartman, and it is great, as always, to be with you. 844-861-5537 is the call-in number. 844-861-5537 is the call-in number. But as always, you can use the chat, which I have a direct line to right here. And you know the rule, as long as you keep it classy. You know, speaking of a classy question, a classy person in the chat, we already have Caesar who's saying, aloha, Julie. If it's okay to ask, how did you happen to run into Amala on your European trip? You're right, I did run into Amala. I talked about this on Monday, I think, on this show, and then on Dennis and Julie, that we went scootering together into Slovakia, of all places. And that's because, Caesar, I was speaking at a conference in Hungary, in Amsterdam, Hungary, actually, for MCC Fest. And they invited all of these fantastic conservatives. For some reason, they thought that maybe I would contribute something to the conversation. But Amala was there, and we had a few hours to just kind of have fun. And when in Hungary, and you discover that the border is open right where you are with Slovakia, and there are scooters at your hotel, I mean, why not? We just decided to go do that. So that's the answer to your question. Hello, Sean McConnell. Welcome, Sean in the producer's dungeon.
Hi. Yeah, sorry we're late. I had to do my makeup.
Ha ha. He's acting like it was me. It was kind of both of us, the reason that we're late. But yes, we are sorry for being late. And thank you so much for joining us. You know, every episode of the show is special. But it is especially special when we have an in-person guest. And it is especially special when it's my friend. I've never had a friend on this show before. Today's the day. And it's really actually very prescient, Caesar, that you're asking a question pertaining to a friend. Because my guest today is one of my best friends, Morgan Goldman. And we're going to give kind of a background of how we met and why Morgan is coming on to the show. But this is her first time actually being on a podcast. And so I really commend her for the bravery of coming onto her friend's podcast. You can't hear it, but Sean is putting how would we describe this? A cheering applause
it's
sound.
Fake applause. Yes. It's canned applause.
You know, so today...
Well deserved.
It is well deserved. You know that I do a lot of very intensive topics on this show, you know, many of them relating to conservatism, a lot of them relating to life, how to live a better, more principled, more truthful life. I was going to do the show today actually on Pope John Paul II because he is an incredible figure that all of us should really know about right now in this moment in our world. I'm shouting this out because I'm saying next week we're going to do a show.
Pope John Paul?
That's Pope John Paul II. That's not Pope Benedict. Look, you are poping your popes.
Hold that up again.
Yeah, this is Pope John Paul II.
That looks like Ratzinger.
It's not. It's not
Ratzinger. Is that a young
picture
of him?
I don't know. I think it's a young picture of him. This guy's incredible. Right. He was born in Poland. He lived under the Nazi occupation of Poland. Then he lived in Poland when it became communist. By that time, he was a priest and a bishop, and he actually consecrated a church because of course, religion was outlawed or severely punished in many of these communist-controlled countries. And he established a church in the midst of communist rule. And then he went on to become the Pope, and he was one of the most instrumental individuals in the collapse of the Iron Curtain in 1990. So we're going to be doing that next week. Also next week, I'm going to be having Eliza Ben Shalom on the show. She is known also as the Jewish matchmaker. So all that good stuff next week. But we have something really even better right now, which is just a conversation with one of my best friends. Hello, Morgan.
Hello, Julie.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. I mean, it's really fun. And as I said, I've never had a friend on the show before.
I'm honored.
This is Morgan's first podcast.
That's slightly true, but also not.
Is it really? What other podcast were you on?
Dennis's.
This is true.
So
she was
I don't
on
want to lie
Dennis's.
on the air. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not a good way to start off your perhaps second podcast by lying on the air. But it's really an incredible thing we have because Morgan and I met through Dennis Prager.
And Alan.
And Alan Estrin. And she's here visiting me in LA this week. And prior to this trip, we met one time in our whole lives. But we're both conservative. We're both searchers, religious searchers, truth searchers. Yes. We're both in our 20s. And we talk a lot about our kind of waking up experiences. And they happened before we became friends. And anyway, we just thought it'd be kind of fun to just do this show and talk and really just discuss like how we came to be how we are as young conservative women.
And waking up, you know, we're not unique. There's definitely a lot of people who have gone through the very same thing that we went through, and it seriously feels like you're in the twilight zone. So I think people will be able to relate to what it's like to wake up, to go from believing one reality and then seeing it differently within the span of a few months. And it would have been really fun if we were friends during that time.
It would have been.
It would have been nuts.
It would have been nuts.
It would have been really crazy.
Been out of control if we were friends.
Yeah.
But it would have also been so helpful. So what we want to do today is just have a fun friend conversation, but also really kind of center it around our mutual conservatism and our waking up, because we so badly want other people our age, and especially young women, if I may say, to wake up or to not feel alone if they are, you know, conservative curious.
People don't even like the term waking up. It's a difficult term. People find it like insulting. They're like,
That's
what do you mean waking up?
Yeah, they view it.
You're waking up from what?
Exactly. They don't know that they need to wake up. So let's give some background. So Morgan, tell us about you. I mean, obviously I already know this. Tell us, where do you live? Where do you work? What's your background? And then tell from your perspective. This is like asking couples how they met and you're like quizzing the other person. Tell you from your perspective how I came into your life.
Okay, so I am from Chicago. I live in Chicago. I'm a lawyer. I work at the state's attorney's office. I passed the bar about a year ago, so I'm a new lawyer. I woke up in 2020 during COVID and the George Floyd era.
Same.
Yes, completely changed my life. I still say I'm like a registered independent, but I'm conservative, let's be real. Julie and I met a year and a half ago when I came to LA to kind of have conversations with Dennis and Ella and visit them. And we were lucky enough to meet at a Shabbat dinner. And at that point, we were strangers. And I was like,
total strangers. I walked into this Shabbat, and those of you who watch or listen to Dennis and Julie know that we do Shabbat every Friday. And I just walked in like it was a regular Shabbat, and then he was my best friend.
Yeah, so we were strangers, and then we kind of just kept conversations going, and I don't know, all of a sudden it escalated. You know how like your acquaintances with someone, and then you reach this level where all of a sudden you break through this barrier and you're close? That's what happened with us. I don't know when exactly.
We're trying to figure out when. We're trying to figure out when this, because it was we met at Shabbat, and then we stayed kind of in touch over text and then on the phone. And then sometime a few months ago, we just went exactly past this barrier where we became best friends.
Yeah, and I think we became close because it's really easy to relate to someone who went through the waking up experience, because it's very unique, and I don't really know anyone else, one girl besides you. So I think that really brought us together.
You know, I think I can speak for both of us when I say that we have a lot of great friends. And I adore all of my friends. But I have to say, I think you're one of my only friends who really fully understands the way that I think politically and the way that I think religiously. And I have a lot of friends who are liberal, friends who are maybe sort of conservative, friends who are conservative but maybe don't have a relationship with God. You, again, not to speak for you.
Yeah, speak for me.
But speak for me too. We can speak for each other. But you, I feel like you really get all of it.
I think so. I think when a reality you once believed to be true dies, it really humbles you, because you're like, wow, at least it did for me. I'm like, what else am I mistaken about?
Yes.
So it really made me curious about religion, about, just other ways maybe I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing happened for you.
That's right. You know, I see already we have Tessa Jane in the comment section. I want to shout out Tessa. She's a recurring chatter here on the show. And I believe, Tessa, and you can correct me, I believe you're also in your 20s and you're a young woman living in Canada. And you wrote, I feel like I might low-key be experiencing what you both went through too.
Yeah.
So there are people, and that's why we're doing this. So let's go to the moment, Morgan, when you woke up. And again, this is what's funny for us. So again, just to set the scene, Morgan's 27. She just started working for the Cook County
State's
Attorney's Office. Yes. She lives in Chicago. We met at a Shabbat dinner because you were in Los Angeles. You were going to travel with Carol Swain,
right,
who you had met through Prager Force. So Morgan was a member of Prager Force. She met Carol Swain through Prager Force. And they have become you're just on the phone with her.
I was just on the phone with her.
They've become quite close, and they
Yeah.
were planning a trip out to Los Angeles. And Carol unfortunately got sick. Mm-hmm. And so Morgan, God bless her, still came to Los Angeles. And that's when we met at that Shabbat dinner. And then after that, we had this phone relationship and we became really close. And what we realized was that we were going through the same thing at the same time, but just on totally opposite sides of the country. It was 2020. It was Black Lives Matter. Things were getting so crazy. I was liberal. I know you were liberal. I hated Donald Trump. Did you ever hate Donald Trump?
I hated that man.
I thought he was awful.
I had a nasty woman shirt. I cried when he was elected.
Yep, I cried when he was elected too. I mean, I thought that we were going into authoritarianism.
Handmaid's Tale.
Forced
pregnancy.
Oh my God. I thought when he said the bad hombres thing remember when he was debating Hillary and he was like, we got some bad hombres here. I was like, this guy's so racist. We were woke liberals. And then we had an opening up moment, and I really, really intuit that that's also what Tess is going through. So let's go to you. What was it for you? Take me to the moment where the light switch was turned on for you in the dark room, and you realized, as you so eloquently said, that your whole reality that you had known was wrong.
So it's hard to pinpoint the exact moment because I think back to the beginning of COVID and, I moved in with my parents temporarily with my siblings, and I remember my brother was doing Uber Eats. And I was so offended.
What do you mean he was doing Uber Eats?
He was like a delivery driver. He was doing delivery.
Okay.
And I was so offended by the fact that he would put our family at risk by going into restaurants and picking up food. So at that point, I was still liberal or leftist, I like to say, like Dennis. I think for me, when the whole Black Lives Matter situation kicked off,
What a situation.
Yeah, it didn't sit right with me because in college, I was an intern at a police station during the second semester of my senior year. So 8 months prior, I guess that's a year prior. And I did police ride-along. So I got to see how police operated, in reality and not the lies that are spread about them on the mainstream media. And when the whole sentiment of Black Lives Matter was defund the police, not to mention calling for the liberation of Black and brown people throughout the world, which signaled to me they were anti-Israel, I said, this isn't right. Why are we defunding the police? Why are we demonizing police? Why do I feel forced to put a black stupid square on my Instagram? This feels wrong. And from there, I just started questioning things. And when all these people that I used to trust were embracing the Black Lives Matter movement and condemning, Trump and conservatives for not embracing the movement, I said, these people don't deserve me to listen to them anymore. They lost their credibility.
Exactly.
And from there, I was, at first I was very resistant to listening to Ben Shapiro. I was like, I can't listen to this crazy.
I know.
Crazy
he was
man.
the guy, pro-life guy on Fox News.
Yeah, I was terrified.
Yes.
But then I kind of eased into him a little bit, or eased into people. And I wasn't willing to vote for Trump right away. It kind of took some time.
Me neither.
We know. But we got there, and I'm so grateful I woke up because it really changed my life.
How?
I think it gave me confidence because I was really proud of myself for kind of seeing the truth before me, and it just gave me a lot of confidence. It's hard to explain why exactly, but I don't know, maybe living in truth it just makes you feel stronger and empowered.
Exactly. I mean, yes, it does. And, you know, it's so, I hate this word because it's a very lib word.
No, we don't say that anymore.
I know, we don't say that anymore.
We're trying not to put ourselves in boxes because, you know, it's cool to be conservative and we can be part of the culture. Like we're not, it's not a lib word.
This is, I'm glad that, Tessa's saying that you just turned 25. Happy birthday, Tessa. And thank you for watching Timeless. Tessa always has such great contributions.
Happy birthday.
But you know, it's so true. I was going to say that it's so empowering to see the truth. And then I cut in and said, this is a lib word. And then you cut in and said, no, we're not doing that. And you're right. But it's a testament to the way that the left co-ops language.
Yes.
That it is completely normal to say that it's empowering to live in the truth.
Absolutely.
But it also shows the extent to which the left has leached into our culture, where I hope you can understand why I said it's a lib word, just as like, you know, what's the saying that we say all the time to each other? We're giving space. We're holding space. We're holding space for two truths.
Yeah.
This sounds very liberal, but it's not. They've co-opted the language. They've co-opted the culture.
Yes.
And we have to not give in to that, including with me not saying that this sounds like a lib statement. But again, it just shows how much leftism has leached into all of our lives, which led us to waking up, which led us to realizing that hard fact. So let's go back to, so let's go to your waking up. So it was really the ride-alongs with police.
Yes.
It was police.
It was police.
That was the same for me. It was police.
Mm-hmm. I used to go up to every police officer, shake their hand. I said, thank you so much for your service. It was heartbreaking to watch the demonization of the police. It was horrible. I don't know how anyone could have seen that and not have been taken aback. But I guess it's because they didn't get to go on ride-alongs like I did. They didn't see the reality.
You know, it's interesting because I wonder, I think what you're saying is so on the nose, because in my opinion, a lot of people who are leftist, and there are differences between leftists and liberals.
There are. I think I'm a liberal.
Yeah, I think I'm a liberal too.
Yeah.
And we should talk about that. Like, I call myself a conservative because I want to conserve the principles of the American founding, but I'm also deeply liberal.
Right.
But I think being conservative leaves space to be deeply liberal. I don't know if being liberal holds space for being conservative. We're going to put a pin in that. But we're going to put a pin on it, and we're going to
put that one to the side.
We're going to put that one to the side. But this point about police is so important because you know it was the same for me. It was seeing the vilification of law enforcement. When I found PragerU and I discovered, thanks to one of their videos, that only 12 unarmed blacks were killed by police in 2019, I was blown away.
Yeah.
Because we were made to believe that it was thousands and thousands of people. And, you know, you had the ride-along experience with police. Morgan this past weekend just met my sister Gina, along with one of my best friends, Anne, who I introduced Morgan to. And I took both of them to see my sister with severe autism, Gina, who I've talked about sparingly, but at times on the show before. And she's been in and out of government-run group homes, and she faced horrific negligence and abuse. And there were many times in my life growing up where police were involved in our situation. For instance, there was one time when I was 14 years old where Gina ran away from her group home because her caretakers were so negligent, they weren't paying attention to her at all. And she ran out of her home. She ran a mile and she went onto the on-ramp of the 405 freeway. And thank God, California Highway Patrol found her, picked her up, put her in the car, made her feel comfortable. And by the grace of God, Gina blurted out our home phone number. And you saw how disabled she is. She, you know, that's very difficult for her to do.
Yeah.
And then the California Highway Patrol officer called my parents, and thank God she was safe. I shudder to think what would happen if California Highway Patrol had not picked her up. But my point is, when I woke up, it was policed for me too, because my experiences with police, with my sister Gina, just as your experience with police with ride-alongs, excuse me, was so positive. And that doesn't mean that all police are perfect.
No.
Nobody ever says that.
There's bad apples in every industry. Of course,
in every industry. But we saw the reality. And I wonder if a lot of leftists, police-hating leftists, have never had encounters with police.
Perhaps.
Or maybe they have. Maybe we're not being fair. I don't know. What do you think?
That's interesting. I don't know. I don't think they've had interactions in the same capacity that you and I have had. But I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to think on that one.
My hunch is that many haven't. And I can speak a lot of my friends who are liberal and who have some very strong opinions, shall we say, about police.
Yeah.
I don't mean to speak for all of them. Obviously, I can't say for all of them what their life experiences have been. But as an outside observer, a lot of them have not had close encounters with the police. And so it's very easy to demonize people who you don't know. It's very easy to go, oh, we need to, defund these people, or these individuals handled that police encounter wrong. You know what I say to them? You have someone in front of you who is violent and who's, going up and possibly grabbing your gun, or who you have to, police are protecting all of us. It struck me as so hubristic to tell a police officer who's in a situation with a violent criminal what to do.
Absolutely.
How would we know? How do we, sitting in our privilege, to use a lib word, that is not a lib word. It's actually a quite, I believe, conservative I think conservatives recognize our American privilege, our privilege in a lot of different categories. How dare we sit here in our privilege when we're not police officers and wag our fingers and condescend to them and tell them what to do in those situations?
I also think I was extremely bothered by the fact that on the west and south side of Chicago, 50 people would get shot in a weekend.
Yep, no one cares.
Black on black crime, no one cares. Why does it only matter when it's a police officer and, someone they're trying to arrest? Why? Of course those situations matter, but the lying by omission and the focusing in on certain stories while completely ignoring others really kind of taught me, or started exposing me to, the way the media operates. And I think from there, I just realized maybe it was fake news. Trump wasn't lying when he said that.
Exactly. And I think that seeing the truth in one area makes you see the truth in other areas.
One would think.
Well, yes.
One would think.
I think for us, that's what it did for us.
But for others, not so much, which is where I think we get confused. Why, we were able to see the truth and not others, because there's people way smarter than me who are extremely brainwashed, and it's hard to understand why can they not see it, but I can and you can. What's the missing factor for them?
As you know, Dennis and I talk about this all the time, like how you're right. What is it? Is it that we had certain life experiences, or we had certain things in our, for instance, our shared experiences with the police that were...
I think it's a media literacy problem, perhaps.
Well, I just think I don't know. I mean, there are gradations of waking up, and we talk about this off the air all the time. Like, we know some people who are anti-woke. We know some people who are conservative but don't like Trump. We know people who are conservative, and there are gradations. And my question is, and you just asked it, what fully enables someone to really see the truth? Why do some see it and not others? Or why do some see part of it and not others? For instance, I have friends who are very anti-woke. They think all this gender stuff is crazy. They think transing the kids is nuts, thank God. They think that the crusade against law enforcement is nuts. But then they hate Trump. They think Trump is a Nazi, neo-Nazi, white supremacist, authoritarian.
Yeah.
I know you have friends like that.
Absolutely.
Why? Why do you think?
I think people need to realize they're not voting for who they want to be their Valentine.
They're not voting for a husband.
We're not voting for a husband. We are deciding on the President of the United States, and we need to put our feelings aside and vote for the person who's going to run the country the best. I don't know. It's really, really a mystery to me. I think any decision we make in life, whether it's who we're voting for, who we're marrying, what our career path is, there's pros and cons to any decision. So you have to go with the choice that's going to best serve you in your future. And at this point, it's very hard to understand how people don't see that the answer is Trump, even if they don't like his personality.
Amen to that.
But I think the issue is people still trust the media, and they trust, when the media says he's a racist, white supremacist, all these things, they trust it. Where to me, it's like, okay, if you don't like him, it's kind of the same difference of not liking someone like Larry David, okay? Like, he rubs you the wrong way. He can be an asshole. Or, maybe he had his past with in business endeavors, he screwed people over. Those are all legitimate, I get it. But the man is not a racist. He's not a white supremacist. He's not going to cling on to power. And, it's like, if you think those things, you just gotta examine yourself and shape up. I'm sick of it.
Shape up. I'm sick of it too.
It's enough.
And so I have a friend who recently texted me saying, Julie, why are you a Trump supporter? And I told her that I would write her an email because she is very left. She is black. She believes that Trump is a white supremacist. I know this. Ugh. And I know it's
so
really
tiring.
sad. It's tiring.
It's tiring. I'm over it.
I'm over it too. And this is exactly why I'm bringing this up, because I told her I would write her an email, and I still am. But I found myself like going to sit and write this email, and I found myself this slight urge to do this whole kind of what I call a Maoist self-criticism session, where I go, I want you to know that I'm not, I don't agree with every single thing Donald Trump has ever said and done. And then I thought, whoa, wait a minute. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Mm-hmm. I am not apologizing for supporting Donald Trump. Voting for Donald Trump does not mean that I endorse every single thing that he's ever said and done. And here's what bothers me. Your Larry David analogy is very apt. Here's what really bothers me. Joe Biden plagiarized when he was in law school. He has lied throughout his whole career. His son, Hunter, had a extramarital affair, which begot them a child, his 7th grandchild, who he would not acknowledge. Mm-hmm. It's absurd. And nobody has to give any kind of Maoist self-criticism session for endorsing Joe Biden.
No,
or
not.
Kamala Harris has had some questionable things, shall we say, in her past. They both have done some questionable things.
Here in California.
Shall we say here in California, right. And when let's say I were to ask my friend that text, or send that text to my friend, but put the shoe on the other foot and go, why are you a Biden supporter? Or I guess now, why are you a Kamala supporter? Would she have to give the Maoist self-criticism session? I don't approve of her affair with Willie Brown. I don't approve of her, policy position. The Biden-Harris administration, talk about women, have been so despicable for women. Mm-hmm. They just overhauled Title IX, which essentially allows men to now compete in women's sports if you identify as a woman. Mm-hmm. Does anybody have to give a Maoist self-criticism session that they don't support or endorse every single thing Joe Biden has said or done, or Kamala Harris has said and done?
Definitely
not. But we Trump supporters have to do that. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous.
Oh, Julie.
Oh, yes.
The president of the United States is not the moral barometer.
That's right.
For us. It's about policies. A very smart man I work with for a long time, Senior Larry Elder, says, I don't watch the swing, I look where the ball lands. And so it's all about policies. And what a sad state it would be if the president was considered the moral barometer for humanity. That's not what we're voting for.
That's right.
I also jumped in to ask what Morgan's last name is.
You're
What
funny,
is her last
Sean.
name?
Morgan's last name. That's funny because I had planned that segue too. Sean's cutting in and asking what Morgan's last name is, and it's Goldman,
That's
which
right.
is
Gold.
such a great.
Gold, man.
You're hilarious. Believe it or not, other people think similarly. And I was planning that segue too. Morgan, you didn't even know that your last name was going to be segued into talking about gold. But in all seriousness, there's a lot of volatility right now, economically, politically, globally. And now is a really good time to tie your assets to something physical. And that's why you should consider investing in gold. Economists are warning us about massive tax hikes that could hit our 401k and IRA hard. With inflation rising and global uncertainty, it's no wonder that central banks and many Americans are turning to gold, man. If you haven't thought about gold yet, now's the time, and you should consider trusting Priority Gold to help you diversify your savings with gold and silver. Text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD for a free gold information guide and see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Experts agree, but the good experts, that physical gold is one of the best ways to fortify your savings. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD. That's 1-800-405-GOLD. And, now that we're talking, I also want to tell you about My Pillow. And, Morgan is staying with me this week in Los Angeles. And she can vouch for the fact that I sleep on a My Pillow. I use my towels. And I wear my slippers. Seriously, she can cut in and vouch for this. She lives with me.
It's true.
It's true.
She tells no lies.
Yes, I tell no lies. Live not by lies. Right now, you can get My Pillow's 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets for only $25. Their brand new mattress topper for as low as $69.98. Their famous My Pillow bed sheets, which I also sleep on, for as low as $25, and so much more. Go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-566-6745 and use the promo code Hartman to get huge discounts on all My Pillow products, including the premium queen size My Pillow for only $19.98. These are really their lowest prices ever, so please take advantage of this while it lasts. Again, the promo code is Hartman, as Sean notes, with no E and one N, HARTMAN, mypillow.com, 1-800-566-6745. Call today.
I have a question for the two of you.
Sean is saying he has a question. Now, Morgan can't hear you, so I will do my best to relay your question.
Yeah. It seems to me from the outside looking in, it's been a while since I was in my 20s, and I've never been a female, although my name is misinformation.
That's right.
It seems to me it might be easier for males, even young males, to be openly conservative. Is it harder for you two in your 20s, young beautiful females, to be openly conservative?
It's such a good question.
I can't wait to hear.
I know. Sean is saying he suspects, and he said it's a long time since he's been in his 20s and he's never been a female, but he suspects that it's easier for young men to be conservative than it is for young females to be conservative. Do you agree or disagree?
I definitely agree. I think a woman's intuition and women's emotions are so amazing, and I'm so happy that I'm a woman. I'm really grateful to not be a man. However, women are a little more sensitive. We're a little bit more irrational, let's be real. And perhaps you and I are more logical than other women. I don't know.
Sure. Let's
know.
Pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah, so I think a lot of women, they really do not embody the whole facts over feelings thing.
They don't.
It's all about how something makes them feel. But, tough love, if you had a friend who was going through something, you'd want to tell them the truth, because the truth is how they're going to fix the problem. If you lie to them, that's not loving. So just because something might feel better, it might feel good to say, oh, yeah, it's the police are the problem. That's, why the Black community is suffering and maybe behind. That's not truthful. That's not holding up a mirror to the reality, and that's unkind.
That's right. I always say bullshitting is a form of contempt.
Yeah.
You don't respect the person enough to really tell them the truth.
Absolutely.
And I know we do this all the time in our friendship. We tell each other the truth, whether it's about career, romance, what outfit to wear that day, anything, we tell each other the truth, and we're very loving with one another. But I know you respect me and I respect you, and we don't beat around the bush.
Yeah, we're not going to bullshit.
We're not going to bullshit. And
we can swear on the air.
Well, I was actually just wondering that.
Sorry,
we're doing it now. We're doing it now.
My bad.
Too late. No, I mean, I do it all the time off the air. It's one of the things I'm working on. But this question is great, Sean. That's why I keep him around, among other reasons.
Yeah.
But this is really good, and I agree with Morgan, because, for young women, it really is the emotional issue. I couldn't have said it better. It's women's superpower is that we are emotional. We intuit things. We are nurturing. I mean, we're made to be mothers. We're, that is what women are great at. Dennis talks about this. And by the way, Morgan loves all of Dennis's work, and it's so fun for us as friends to be able to relate to one another on what a giant Dennis is in our lives, and his work is in our lives. But I know you'll get this reference that in the Adam and Eve story, when God is levying the consequences, as Dennis says, it's not punishment, but consequences of their fall. He says, women are going to experience pain in childbirth, and men are going to have great suffering toiling the field. You can tell I'm not Dennis. I can't do the Hebrew and then directly quote the Torah word for word. But it's that women have more of sort of a micro or nurturing or emotional burden in life, whereas men have a more macro one. And women, we are amazing, but we are very emotional. And I think a lot of young women do let their emotions sweep them away. I mean, even on abortion, and we're getting right to it. we're getting right to the controversy on abortion.
That's the issue, I think, that keeps... I'm Jewish, and I think a lot of my fellow Jews would be willing to vote Republican if it wasn't for the abortion issue.
That's right. So as two women who both were once pro-choice...
I'm reluctantly pro-choice.
I'm reluctantly homeless.
Yeah, me too.
I'm reluctantly... I want to say I'm pro-life, but I really struggle with it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, are you comfortable? Can we talk about that? Because I think this would be really helpful for young women.
Sure.
Let's go there. So you were pro-choice like me.
Yeah.
How are you different now? Where do you stand now?
Here's the thing. This is an issue that's with the states. In order for a country of 400 million people to live together in peace, we need to allow federalism to play out. This issue is with the states. It needs to stay with the states. And I understand, I respect conservatives who are staunchly pro-life. I get it. I respect you. But politically, it's not politically expedient to make that kind of the vocal point of, why you have to vote Republican. It's not the hill I'm going to die on. I understand it. I think it's murder. And I know that's probably in Congress to say I'm still reluctantly pro-choice. I know Dave Rubin says the same thing. I think there needs to be exceptions carved into the law for certain circumstances. But the overarching point is it is with the states. So it's like, can we just put this issue to bed?
I agree with you on a legal level. And one of the great, and as you know, Morgan, I just got back from this 5-week trip to Europe. I was in 7 countries. One of the greatest things about the United States is that we have this system of federalism.
I love it.
Where essentially every state can be its own hub of innovation.
Our founders are so brilliant.
They're so brilliant. And it's amazing. Even we know gay marriage was made legal on a federal level. But how did that start? That started in the state of Massachusetts. One state legalized gay marriage within their state bounds. Mm-hmm. And then other states started to catch on and go, oh, okay, this isn't so bad. I'm pro-gay marriage. And then it passed at the federal level. We've seen times when things haven't worked. And because one state has tried it out, or a few states have tried it out, we've moved away from that. It is a brilliant thing. So I completely agree with you on a legal level that it is prudent, and by the way, constitutional, in line with the rules of our country, to have abortion be a state issue. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that a lot of women are thinking about it in those terms. I think they're thinking about it in terms of my body, my choice. And I'm curious to know where you stand on that, because I have a feeling that it's similar to, I can tell you where I stand on it.
I wish I didn't have to put myself in a camp. I don't want to be like, I'm pro-choice, I'm pro-life, because I think it's
You don't
murder.
have to.
I think there needs to be carved out exceptions very early on. And I talked to Julie about this. As women, there's ways, I don't mean to talk about my cycle on the air, but there are ways to monitor your cycle and pay attention to whether or not, you're pregnant and when you're ovulating. And I think that women should be educated on those things and not put on birth control at 15 years old and be on it for, 15 years. That's a little off topic, but I just think there are less intense ways to go about not getting pregnant that Sorry, I don't know where I'm going with that.
No, you're going exactly in the right direction with
Going
it.
on a tangent
because
about birth
women
control.
don't. No, but this is women don't talk about this.
Right.
And I know that you and I feel very strongly that we have an obligation to talk about this in a very truthful way. Women, it's not the most fun thing to talk about your cycles or
I was telling you about the luteal, follicular,
That's right.
ovulatory.
well, yes, we as women, there are times where you can cut in and explain, and where we can or can't get pregnant. And also, by the way, there is such a thing as birth control. Mm-hmm. And by the way, to really, go there is such a thing as Plan B one step if you do fear. And I'm not saying any of this is easy. These are very difficult issues. Mm-hmm. But I love what you just said, that you feel like you go, I don't want to put myself in a camp of pro-choice or pro-life. Exactly. I think it is murder. I don't think that women should have abortions. That being said, in life, you can't paint things with one broad brush. I do think there should be exceptions.
Right. And
I get conflicted about the exceptions because I do also believe a child of rape, conceived of rape, is just as much a child created in the image and likeness of God as a child conceived through consensual sex. Mm-hmm. But we're not allowed to talk about that, right? We're not allowed to acknowledge any of these realities, because then it means that you're supporting rape, or then it means that you don't have sympathy for the woman who was raped, as if we wouldn't have sympathy for a woman who was raped.
What happened to nuance?
What happened to nuance? I did an episode called Mana, Make America Nuanced Again. What happened to nuance?
Mm-hmm. And not to mention, Trump is moderate on abortion.
Not to mention, he said he will not pass a federal ban. And Florida, the whole Handmaid's Tale-esque state, they're having a ballot initiative this November where Floridians will vote to, or not, enshrine a 6-month right to abortion in their constitution.
It's just such a shame, because if the media spoke honestly about these issues, I think we wouldn't be having this problem. But they're
That's right.
dishonest.
They are. We wouldn't be having this problem, but they won't even hold space.
They do not hold space
They
for
do
two
not
truths.
hold space
That's
for two
sure.
truths. They won't even hold space for someone to come on and be nuanced and be neither pro-choice nor pro-life, but just a truth seeker in this most controversial and deeply personal issue.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the chat for a minute. And Sean, I heard you in my ear. And it's funny because I don't know what you were saying to me. I don't know if you're asking me a question or...
You have about 10 minutes
Oh, 10
left.
minutes. Oh, good. Good to know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Richard, for your welcome back wishes. Someone is writing, this is Just James. The problem is people have boarded the train of hating Trump because of the media. Yes, that's what Morgan is saying. That train has picked up steam and inertia has been taken over. Once that happens, it's almost impossible to break. Yes.
We broke it.
We broke it, but you're 100%
Yes.
right. But I see the way that this happens with people, where it's like learning. I mean, think about learning. It's cumulative. You first have to learn your ABCs, and then you can learn to spell words, but they're shorter words, and then you can learn to spell long words, and then you put them together in sentences, and then you're speaking many sentences, and then you've mastered a language, and then you can master another language. What I fear with, and I see this with my friends, my dear friends, and I know you do too, is that there's something that breaks in that sequence. Maybe they've mastered the forming of the sentences, but then something goes wrong. Like they get this thing in their head about Trump, that he's an authoritarian. And then when Trump goes on and says, I'm going to be a dictator on day one, which we know obviously he was joking about, then they get buried more in their belief, and it confirms their reality. And as Just James is observing, it's hard to break. Mm-hmm. Then they're seeing more and more things that are just confirming this reality where there was a break in the sequence where they got something wrong. Mm-hmm. And so how do we go back and go earlier in the sequence and tell them, no, this is when
How do we
things
unburden
went
what
awry?
has been?
How do we unburden what has been?
So, I don't know, we might disagree on this a little bit, but I try to come off a little bit more mild when I'm talking to people, and I don't go gung-ho about Trump. I more say the far left has been captured.
I agree.
I'm sorry. The Democratic Party has been captured by the far left. The media lies. I don't necessarily start talking about, how much I like Trump.
I don't either. I'm with you on that.
Because they can't hear it. It's like if you start talking about liking Trump, they're like, blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't want to hear it.
But Morgan, you're 100% right. And I do the same thing. It's very easy to convince people that the left sucks. But then when we get them to the place of the left sucks, there's still someone to vote for in November. And I find that many, I don't want to say who it is, but you met someone very close to me in my life who is definitely at the stage where he doesn't like the left. Mm-hmm. But he said, I will never, ever vote for Donald Trump.
But here's the thing, and I don't want to tell someone not to vote because it's your civic duty, but maybe don't vote.
Right.
Then. Don't vote for Kamala. Are you kidding?
I know. Look, I think someone has a right to not vote. I do believe it's your civic duty, but I would so much rather have someone not vote than be ill-informed.
Sit this one out.
Sit this one out.
Sit it out.
Sit this one out.
Yeah.
But I agree with you where, I adore many conservatives who like Trump, but sometimes people, it's like pummeling Jesus on someone too fast. It's too much.
Yes.
They can't take it.
Yes.
They can't take it that much. Like I used to be interested in Christianity, but when people would say Jesus is love, and I would be like, I can't. Teach me how to spell. I can't get to this yet. And so I'm with you on the whole Trump thing. Sometimes these great Trump supporters, and I'm a Trump supporter, come in and they're like, he's the best, he's our savior. I agree with you, that's too much. But what do we do when we get someone to the point of, as you say, convincing them, it's not that hard to convince them, that the left has destroyed the country. And then when they go, well, Morgan, I would never vote for Donald Trump, what do you say then?
Well, they also always bring up the far right. They're like, well, isn't the far right bad? Sure. However, the far right does not wield the same institutional power that the far left does. Remember, we had an insurrection. It was resolved within an hour, okay? We certified the election.
It wasn't an insurrection.
Whatever you want to call it, It was resolved very quickly.
But I think words matter. I'm not trying to nitpick, but I think
right.
words matter. It wasn't an insurrection. It was the first unarmed insurrection in our nation's history.
A riot.
It was a riot.
A riot. I think that we have to convince them that the far left controls the culture, Hollywood, big tech, although Elon Musk, who I'm obsessed with, thank God he's a savior. I love that he took over Twitter.
That's who we will call our savior.
I love Elon.
I love Elon too.
But I think we have to remind them that they might not have the whole story because the media is not presenting, the media is supposed to hold up a mirror to the reality and present, an accurate story, and they're not doing that. So we somehow have to convince people that they're not getting the whole picture, and they shouldn't be mad at conservatives. They should be mad at the media.
That's right. And the media, the media...
I hate the media.
I hate the media too. And gosh, I'm just hearing from Sean. We only have 5 minutes left because I want to talk to you more about this because the media is so captured.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
The mainstream media.
The mainstream media. And we right now, this show, we're in non-mainstream media. Mm-hmm. And, I was on a panel in Hungary when I was there scootering with Amala, to reference Caesar at the beginning. I was on a panel in Hungary about journalism. And it was so interesting what we talked about because they asked us, what do you think about journalism? And I cut in and I said, I'm not a journalist. I don't identify as a journalist, but I'm not. Mm-hmm. I'm a commentator. I present, when we talk about news on this show, I try to present the facts as objectively as possible. And then I make it very clear when I'm done with that and I'm moving into the realm of opinion. But nevertheless, this show is opinion. Hello, what have we been doing for the past hour? Stating opinions. But we know the media, the mainstream media is captured. And I love all of these alternative media companies that are arising. But we need places that are just objective journalism, not left, not right. I even found there was someone on the panel who I was with who was amazing. And she's like, I am a journalist, but I'm a conservative journalist. And I'm like, okay, but there shouldn't be such a thing as a conservative or a liberal journalist. Right. There's a journalist.
You're a truth seeker.
And so it's just a can of worms that we'll have to do on another episode. But it's kind of like, are we in the post-journalism age? Do we just go to people who are giving, opinions and calling out things as they are? I mean, there's such an assault on truth. Like, when someone is pointing out that Kamala Harris is lying, they're seen as a conservative journalist.
Up until 3 minutes ago, you were seen as conservative if you said that Joe Biden was mentally not all there.
Right. So is there even room for just objectivity anymore? I feel like objectivity is now branded as conservative.
Right. You're not wrong.
That was a lot. I want to clarify, Dennis always does this on Dennis and Julie, the two things I'm saying here, that there's journalism and there's commentating. I view myself as a commentator, and we need room for just objective journalism because we're agreeing the media is a problem. But even when you state an objective reality, we're now in this age where you're called conservative. And so we're kind of, I don't want to say we're screwed, but like the mainstream media is totally captured. And then people who are speaking the truth objectively are called conservative. And it's like, what the heck? Where do we go from here?
Well, the thing is too, most people don't pay attention. They, people our age, they're on Instagram and their headlines will pop up, and that's really all the news they get. They're not listening to political podcasts. They're hearing from influencers and getting, little bits and pieces. They're not paying attention.
I know.
So that's a big problem too. So that's why I think we need to make being independent, conservative, whatever you want to call it, cool, because it's kind of losery to be a leftist at this point. Like
it is. It's losery,
we need to shame them. Like bring back shaming.
Well,
I'm kidding. I have so much love for them. I really do.
You do.
I just want them to see it because it's like it's fun over here.
It is fun over here. And by the way, this is such a good thing to end on. Should we tell them what we did yesterday morning?
Sure. What you did.
Well,
I was there.
We did.
Fine.
Morgan was supporting me. I should have sent you a photo, Sean. Maybe I have my phone right here. We decided to go on a walk. We're gonna.
I love to walk.
Yes, Morgan loves to walk, and I want Morgan to like cut in and fill space, hold space while I'm pulling up the photo. Here, can we get a zoom in? We went on a walk. Can we get a zoom in?
Julie was very excited to be wearing this hat in public. She felt like she was coming out of the closet.
First time ever wearing my MAGA hat in public.
No one acknowledged it, though.
Guess who made me get a MAGA hat? This girl right here.
Oh, goodness.
Guess who? No, it's not.
Why is a hat scary? I'm like scared of the MAGA hat.
Bring shame back again.
I know.
What I'm saying is, I know what you're saying, but what I'm saying is like normalize MAGA. I don't want to go every day around in a MAGA hat. But it was so cool to go on this walk with you in a MAGA hat because, we see Biden hats. We see all these political,
Do we though?
Yeah, we do. You wore, what did you just say, nasty woman t-shirt? We see it all the time. But then we conservatives are afraid to wear our political slogans. It's not my style. I don't go around in MAGA hats, but we did it sort of as an experiment to see how people in liberal Los Angeles would react. And I think what both of us were trying to do was normalize MAGA. We're not racist, we promise. We're not homophobic, we promise. We're not transphobic.
And we're fun and we're cool.
Fun. And we drink and we smoke cigarellos and we go shopping and we, and there's this stereotype of like conservative women are very conservative. Like we're liberal conservative women. Yeah. We hold space. You wearing your aloe hat, I'm wearing my MAGA hat.
We're just critical thinkers out here.
We're just critical thinkers. But we really, I know it sounds really trite, but both of us kind of view it as our life vocation to help people see the truth. And, it's a better, elevated, more principled, more fun life when you're basking in the light of the truth.
Yeah, there's a whole movement going on. It's like, come join.
It's
so fun.
It's really lovely. And you meet, and this is what I really want to end on. Someone's writing, Julie, you just made a sale on MAGA hats. I'm buying one right now. Well, thank Morgan. I didn't make the sale. Morgan is the one that made me buy the MAGA hat. And thank you. It's really great.
You're welcome.
But, oh God, what was I going to end on? This is like Dennis
Join
and Julie.
The movement.
Join the movement. It's fun. Oh, yes, thank you. This is what I'll end on. Let's go back to the beginning of this episode, how we met.
Circle back.
Morgan came to Los Angeles. She was going to come to LA with Carol Swain. Carol Swain got sick. How did she meet Carol Swain? Through Prager Force. How did she get through Prager Force? Through waking up. I was talking about this on Monday. And I was talking about this on Dennis and Julie with Ava Vladingerbrook, who is my dear friend and who became Catholic, and then she met and married her wonderful husband. When you are aligned, when you are following the truth, and I'm not saying, let's put religion aside for a moment. I'm saying when you are following your passions, or when you're following the truth, when you're chasing in life what interests you, and especially when it's aligned with the truth, it will lead you to the right people. That doesn't mean your whole life is made for you, but I relate to this. I was seeking the truth. I discovered Dennis Prager. I emailed him, and with the grace of God, I got into his life. You discovered the truth. You woke up, you joined Prager Force, and then the whole led you to Carol Swain, which led you to Dennis, which led you to Shabbat dinner, which led you to me, which led you to here. Crazy. But it shows people, don't be afraid. If you're a closeted conservative, if you're closeted MAGA, come out of the closet. It doesn't join us. It doesn't mean that you have to walk around wearing your MAGA hat. That was just a one-time thing. But don't be afraid to show other people who you are. If you lose friends, they're not your real friends. Because it will lead you to incredible people. And I think the fact that you're sitting across from me right now and you're on my show and you're my best friend, and we had met one time prior to this LA trip, but we're so close. I think I think this story in and of itself, I hope is inspiring.
Yeah, me too.
You're like, yeah, we're done. I have nothing more to say. Well, Morgan, thank you.
Thank you for having me, Julie.
You're welcome. Anytime. Anytime, my friend. Anytime you want to come on. I'm going to finish with a gold in honor of Goldman. And Sean was going to cut in and remind me of that, but I'm 5 steps ahead of him. But seriously, we have done shows on this. I have had economists on the show. We talk all the time about how one of the worst things that the United States did was take us off the gold standard. It is so prudent to tie your money to something physical, especially right now when everything is very volatile economically, globally, politically. So please consider trusting Priority Gold to help you diversify your savings with gold and silver. You can text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD for a free gold information guide and see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Experts agree that right now, physical gold is one of the best ways to fortify your savings. We know that massive tax hikes could hit our 401k and IRA hard, and inflation is rising amidst all of this global uncertainty. Please tie your money to something physical. Text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD to learn more. That's text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD to see if you qualify for free shipping and free storage, and you can get a free gold information guide. That's GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD. Thank you guys for joining us. You can email me at julie@julie-hartman.com. As you know, I always love hearing from you. I'm so grateful for when you write to me and when you share your stories of waking up or your struggles at your workplace or in your family. You know I'm always here for you. And if you want to write to Morgan won't say her email, but I'll forward the email to Morgan, and then she can give her response, and I'll send it via julie@julie-hartman.com. If you ever want to email Sean, his email, let's give your phone number.
Let's give
on
everyone's
the air.
email and address.
Let's publicly expose your phone number.
I don't want your emails. Don't email me. Leave me alone.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you soon. Be well.